Hello and thanks for joining us here at France 24. Time now for our reporters' in-depth look at issues from around the world. It's now just over 7 months since Hassan Rouhani was elected president of Iran. The moderate candidate surprised many with his victory, and on the international stage he has started to reverse decades of hostility with the West. One of his major goals has been to get the international community to lift the punitive economic sanctions. It's those measures that have driven much of the internal discontent as Iran's economy suffers. But how much have things actually changed in Iran? Are the Ayatollahs loosening their grip on the population? Alexander Turnbull, Antoine Mariotti and Kelly Bashir went to find out.
Glamour and glitz on the red carpet. Just this one night, the spotlights drew away from Tehran's tower to catch the industry's best and brightest. Filmmakers, actors and producers were gathered for the 32nd edition of Iran's International Film Festival. 6 months into Hassan Rouhani's presidency, the mood is lighter than in previous years.
It's doing better than in the past. I hope it improves further, but I think the situation is better today.
Thank God the situation will continue to improve.
There's still a long way to go to become like France's Cannes Film Festival, but we're still learning.
Iranian cinema has a well-established international reputation, but the industry suffered under the conservative presidency of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Several movies were banned, filmmakers deemed controversial were silenced. But change is in the air. After he came to power last June, President Rouhani vowed to revive an industry he described as depressed and gloomy. Director Tamina Milani gave us a tour of the set of her latest movie.
This location is our main location in my new movie. It's called Ceasefire 2. All this area are artificial. These are all these artificial. You know what I mean? So this is an old building that we made everything around here. My fifth movie called Hidden Half. It was political movies, and because of that movie, I arrested and I was in jail, and I had 4 death penalties for that.
With the support of then-President Mohammad Khatami, Milani was eventually released on bail. She has since stopped making political films. Her latest releases address social and gender issues within Iran's middle class, but she says Rouhani's victory last year has made it easier for her to work.
Before Mr. Rouhani came to power, when I asked for permission to make movie to our Minister of Culture, it took time, sometimes 6 months, 1 year, few months. But I was surprised because when I asked them to give me permission to make this movie, after 1 week they gave me permission. Yeah, it means it worked. So Mr. Rouhani was good for us.
We have hope for future. We have this kind of feeling that everything's going to be better and better every day, and we can feel it through this, news and every kind of, making those banned movies free and show them to people, because nothing can, happen with those movies. This is just a movie, has kind of audience less than 1 million on top of it. It's just like a movie.
Yeah. We're going to shoot a funny scene here in this bedroom. Yeah. دوربین حرکت
پاشو که حوصله‌مو سر بردی. اصلا نمیخوام همون کنم. من اردکم.
After lifting the ban on several films, Rouhani pushed to reopen Tehran's House of Cinema. The institute that promotes Iranian films was shut down 2 years ago, up until last September. The regime at the time criticized what it described as its low moral standards. For its 5,000 members, the house's closing was a blow to the industry.
No, don't. He's Mr. Khanzali, he's a sound recorder. He's one of the best. Okay, come. The House of Cinema was the great place for meeting, talking, you know what I mean? And they want to put all of us, separate. And they were successful. But when Mr. Rouhani came to power, in the first step, he opened House of Cinema, and it brought us a huge hope.
A sense of hope that reverberates from the world of fiction to the political stage. Opposition activist and journalist Isa Saharis was released a few months ago after 4 years in jail, where he suffered several heart attacks. He agreed to drive us to the house of his friend and former lawyer, Nasrin Sotoudeh.
After the elections in 2009, when they started arresting people, and lawyers proved reluctant to take on the cases of political activists, she agreed to defend several, including myself. She was very active in court, and it was because of these types of activities that Mrs. Sotoudeh was arrested.
Last September, after 3 years behind bars and 3 hunger strikes, Sotoudeh was pardoned and freed. Many said her release confirmed the new president's reformist intentions. Saharis said it was just a token gesture.
I believe at the same time as Mrs. Sotoudeh, 12 to 13 other prisoners were also released. This led us to think that Mr. Rouhani's efforts were fruitful and the people in prison since the election could be released. This didn't happen. Their release wasn't a surprise, because most of them had either served their sentences or were very sick. Hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Thanks so much for coming. You're most welcome here. Oh, you shouldn't have. Thanks so much for your kindness.
It's from the prison?
Yes, I made it in prison. It was at the time when my family wasn't allowed to visit me, and it coincided with my daughter's birthday. I wrote a draft convention on the rights of the child, and at the bottom I added a few words to wish her a happy birthday.
It was really hard for families, especially Mrs. Sotoudeh's family. After she was released, her home was attacked, and her husband told me the children and their aunt found the house ransacked.
Several clues led me to think this burglary was politically motivated. After our meeting with European MPs at the Greek embassy in December, the filmmaker Jafar Panahi and myself were widely attacked and criticized. The robbery occurred just 2 weeks afterwards. Regarding the situation of political prisoners or those under house arrest, nothing has changed.
Two of the most prominent political prisoners, Mehdi Karoubi and Miroseh Mousavi, remain under house arrest. Following the 2009 presidential election, the two leaders of the Green Movement accused the regime of manipulating and rigging the vote. Their attempt 2 years later at reviving the protest movement led to their arrest. During his campaign, Hassan Rouhani pledged to have them released. But human rights activists say he simply does not have the judicial power to deliver on his promise. After he came out of prison, Saharis met with Mousavi's family.
I didn't know that Narges, Mr. Mousavi's daughter, had small children. They ruined her life. They forced her husband to divorce her. And this means Mr. Mousavi's grandchild is now living in difficult conditions. Mr. Mousavi's banned from seeing them. I hope the house arrest is lifted soon, so that he can resume a normal life with his family.
Others have repeatedly demanded that Karoubi and Mousavi's house arrest be lifted. On the 10th of December, a letter calling on the government to act appeared on the front page of reformist newspaper Etemad.
This is a letter from 9 main Iranian reformists to Hassan Rouhani. It reads, "End the misunderstandings of 2009. And on the second page, there are pictures of those who signed it. Their release is vital to the success of diplomatic and international relations, and can also bring an end to internal infighting and perhaps create domestic unity. It will also end the misunderstandings within the country."
Several reformist newspapers continue regularly to question and criticize the government's policies. But despite Rouhani's new approach, the strict rules and regulations make it a difficult balancing act.
The media have a legal framework which defines what we can and cannot talk about. The law prevents us from writing about topics which go against the country's national interests, against Islam, or anything that is at the advantage of foreign powers, and also about the country's ethnic conflicts.
Last autumn, Nishat, one of the papers Saharis used to write for, was given the authorities' stamp of approval. But before the first issue was published, the media's supervising body pulled the authorization. Reformist journalists know the risks.
This is the Asaman newspaper.
But they haven't given up on one day printing the newspaper they really want to read.
The publication of this new paper, Asaman, which used to be a weekly magazine, was good news for us. However, despite this, we hope that all journalists and political activists will be able to one day express themselves without censorship, without fear of arrest and detention. The situation has improved a little, but we have higher expectations. What we've seen is good, but it's not enough. We want all prisoners to be released, and the end of systematic arrests.
Journalists, activists, filmmakers all keep their hopes high, but many wonder if Rouhani's program rests on sound foundations.
Now we're joined by one of the authors of that report, Alexander Turnbull. Alexander, questions there at the end of that piece about how much stability there is really behind the foundations of these reforms. How much leeway does Hassan Rouhani have?
Well, there are tensions within the regime, and the new president is having to fight some very conservative political opponents on his right. They're still in power in parliament, and they say that he's making too many concessions, especially over the country's nuclear program. Now, Hassan Rouhani is also having to fight the Supreme Guide himself, who isn't making his life any easier. Very recently, he said that Iran would never sign a final agreement over its uranium enrichment program, for instance. Well, simply because the US was still the country's arch enemy, and this was not going to change. And these tensions, that's just over the country's nuclear program. Hassan Rouhani hasn't really had a chance to tackle other issues, and nobody really knows if the Guide is going to let him.
Alex, tell us more about your meetings with the political prisoners in that piece. We've talked a lot about the reform agenda. Is it easy to meet with them?
To me, Nasrin Sotoudeh was actually easier than we thought. It was, when journalists go to Iran, an official agency is in charge of organising their meetings, of taking in their requests for interviews, and it was all arranged by this agency. So she's certainly not considered as a threat. It was a bit more difficult to actually get her to leave her home, and we had to negotiate further with her until it was possible. As for Issa Sahari's, we didn't go through the agency to meet him. We actually managed to get in touch with him through other contacts, but the director of the agency found out, and he said that the reason why he didn't introduce us to him was that because he felt that maybe Mr. Sahari's might be in trouble soon. Now, I'm not sure exactly what to make of this, but clearly there is a chance that these political prisoners might face prison charge in the future.
Tell us more about the situation more generally too. Just recently, a poet, Hasham Shabani, was executed by the regime. Tell us more about the situation. How is the regime keeping control of many people?
Oh, very clearly. Again, those two political activists we met, we were allowed to see them, we were allowed to talk to them, probably because the regime considers that they're not a threat to the stability of the regime, of the country, of the whole political situation. And it's clear that we weren't given access to other activists, to poets like this man, and some of them still face death penalty charges for the things they write, for what they try and change within Iran.
Alexander Turnbull, thank you very much for that report from Iran. You're watching France 24. That was our reporters. Do stay tuned. More news and headlines coming up.